Okay, let's go. That looks great. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the 38th Hohner Live here on the Hohner YouTube channel, together with Brandon Power. Say hello to Brandon in the chat. Thank you so much for taking the time and agreeing to do this.
My pleasure. It's I'm really looking forward to chatting and also interacting with people who are listening. And as they can see, I've got a whole bunch of gear here, so I'm happy to answer questions about anything really, anything I can, and maybe demonstrate some strange sounds if people are interested.
Yeah, and everything is clearly visible. It looks perfect now.
Good.
So, for those who don't know, Brandon is one of the most forward-thinking harmonica players, I would say. Definitely a relentless innovator and inventor, and also an expert in playing Irish music on the harmonica. Some of you might have already heard about the Little Irish Harmonica Challenge that we'll do and judge on Sunday at 6 p.m. Central European Time on the Twitch channel. Just check out the description box below. Also to find Brandon on all social media platforms. So welcome everybody. Brandon, I think the last time both of us met was at the Beijing Asia Pacific Harmonica Festival in 2018.
Yes. That was that the first time we met even? Or did we meet once in Trossingen?
That's possible.
Maybe? I think it was the first time, yeah. So the one and only time, yeah. That's right, yeah, huge festival, wasn't it?
There was an adventure, for me at least, because was it my first Asia Pacific Harmonica Festival? Probably.
Ah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's another world out there in Asia. I mean, the harmonica is, they're so organized, aren't they? Where they've got all these schools where very often very young kids are kind of taught, the competition tunes, for the particular class of instrument that they play, chromatic or tremolo or whatever. And it's quite regimented and it's a big deal, isn't it, winning the competitions there? So
oh yeah,
it's a different world to like Spa. It's just kind of like everyone just cruises along and does their own thing. This is a totally different thing. There's lots and lots of young kids and mums, anxious mums, and it's a really different thing altogether.
That's true, yeah. And like judging there is like a special experience too. And the great thing is like some of the young players that we heard there are visible on Facebook now too. Like I think we were sitting in the jury when Tansy played there. That's
right, yeah. Incredible! What a talent she is! Mind blowing.
That was fantastic. Yeah, I think she played a beautiful waltz back then.
Right. Yeah. She's got incredible chops on diatonic as well as chromatic. Beautiful vibrato and that on chromatic, and it's quite extraordinary, really.
Yeah. So to everyone out there, don't check her out. You want to quit playing afterwards.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people tuning in from Germany already, of course. Robert Davis from Toronto, Cologne, some Twitch followers too. Babak from Iran. That's awesome.
Hi, Babak. Yeah, that's a country I'd like to visit sometime, Iran. It's I'm really I love the music. I don't know a lot about the music, but what I've heard I love so much. It's very, very emotional. Singing and the playing, just incredible.
Oh yeah, and there seems to be a big community too. Like we can feel that. Or I can.
Sorry, I missed that.
I really feel that on Instagram. That there's a great community, harmonica community in Iran. But
okay,
probably we're back with the connection.
Okay, the old signal is playing up a little bit now. Yeah, but you're kind of how am I with you? Because sometimes your sound to me is I'm losing it slightly.
Okay, hopefully it stabilizes. But yeah, I just said that there's a great harmonica scene in Iran. Very visible on Instagram too. And you're posting daily on Instagram and TikTok now.
I've just joined Instagram and TikTok, just in the last month, this month. So I'm still learning about them. Yeah. Instagram, I don't go there so much, but I know a lot of people are huge into it. TikTok, I really love, actually. It's just mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anything that goes on TikTok.
I don't understand it, but yeah, maybe at some point I'll get into it.
I mean, it's not many, kind of so-called serious harmonica players there. There are some harmonica players, and there's lots of people doing that so-called harmonica challenge. where someone, has got a harmonica in their mouth, and then someone knocks them over the head, and of course, they go,
that's the big thing.
Yeah.
But not with that tuning.
Of those things.
Exactly. And the other thing I saw was like there were a lot of people like just talking through the instrument like while playing the blow chord, and then there was like just what they said was like written out below, and you could actually like really understand and follow the conversations there.
That's a cool. Have you experimented much with that? That's an interesting effect that
not really, but like it's obvious that the harmonica really reacts to, of course, just your mouth, tongue position, and everything.
But you can get some interesting drone effects. For instance, if you just hold an octave on, this is I think it's an A harp, and then you just hum a note in tune with that. It's quite interesting.
Oh yeah.
Get like a didgeridoo sound.
Oh yeah, I also experimented with that. Also, like just thinking about what's possible with that. Like if you consider that you can also possibly sing while inhaling, like.
Oh. Okay, you want to show me that?
Probably take some practice. Oh no, I've been better at this like 5 years ago.
Okay, right, yeah.
Well, yeah. To everyone watching, tell us in the chat if you ever sang into the harmonica before. So yeah, like starting out, I mean, I'm very much influenced by your playing. I mean, early on, 10 years ago when I started, I remember you got watched a lot of videos that especially checked out the videos with you and Jakob Wendt. Then I really loved, and I still love, the collaboration with Tim Eddy, especially when he plays accordion, which is like a beautiful combination.
He's an incredibly gifted musician, incredible ear, like he can't read a note or anything like that, but man, what an ear and what a memory, like he never forgets. It's incredible. His brain is just wired for music,
Yeah, and it's like beautiful melodies, like folk, jazzy, like, I don't know, it's like a fantastic mixture of everything. And another thing I can
I remember you. I think I remember you quite a long time ago when you were really young. Getting in touch, maybe about an Irish tune or something like that. That's the first time I knew of you, and you're really good. Even when but you were probably, I don't know, maybe early teens or even still. I don't know. Can't quite remember, but pretty young.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from your Irish harmonica book.
Oh, cool.
That was very important. I gotta be honest, like somebody sent it to me via ICQ. I didn't buy it.
I don't care. That's all right.
That was when ICQ was a thing. And I can only recommend your album with P.T. Gazelle. I'm playing that to a lot of students.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was fun. Really, really interesting doing that with P.T. because that was the first time we met at Spa, and then we just, because we both play half-valved harmonica, so it was something in common. And we thought, well, let's make this. And, we both, PT's, of course, plays that music all the time. I just dabble in, things like jazz. But I really got into it for a period of time on that album. Yeah, and some stuff came out pretty good there.
Yeah.
And it was, wow, what a buzz playing with these Nashville musicians. Man, they're fantastic.
Yeah, Robert Davis is also writing that into the chat, back to back with Petey Gazelle. Fabulous harmonica duets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think you've been... yeah.
Sorry?
No, say that again. I'm just too fast, probably.
No, it's okay. No, PT, we just keep in touch a little bit, but yeah, he's someone with a very unique style, and really, I mean, what I'm impressed, because I came up with the idea of half valving back in about 1980, and I've always half valved all my harps since then, but I didn't. I found trying to hold bent notes with half valving, I found it too unreliable. So I never used them actually for chromatic notes, except for maybe some fast passing tones. But he seems to have developed a technique where he can actually hold those valve bends steady. I haven't heard anyone else do it, but he's definitely mastered it. So yeah, fair play to him.
That's true. Yeah. Playing all these jazzy continuous eighth note lines with these bow bands and stuff. Robert says that you also sold the backing tracks for that album. Is that true? Are they still available?
Well, maybe PT would be the man to ask. I've got no idea.
I mean, even I would be interested in that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I might have some rough mixes without harmonica. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I'd have to go searching on my computer. I don't think I ever sold them, but yeah, PT would be the guy to talk to. I think he'd have them. He's quite an organized kind of guy. He'd probably be able to pick them up in 1 minute. Yeah, I've got those.
Yeah, so like talking about the very, very beginnings. I mean, you talked about this a lot, but I don't know if everybody knows. There are so many people who think that you're from Ireland, but you're not. Yeah.
No, well, my grandfather, I mean, my name is Irish, Brendan Power, like Power is a very common name.
Okay.
On the east coast of Ireland, in the counties of Waterford and Wexford, because it's actually originally a Norman name. The Normans came over, 1066 is the famous date when they, William the Conqueror came over and invaded Britain, and then subsequently some families went over and invaded Ireland, and that's where my family name comes from. I think it was De Poer or something, the Norman name, and then eventually over the many years it developed into this word power, and there's powers everywhere. When you go to Waterford, Wexford, there's hundreds of them. Every second person is called Power almost. And Brendan, of course, is a very Irish name. So my grandfather was from that area, and then he was sent out as a young man. He was he was born in the 19th century, and in those days, with the families were very big families, and the people were poor. And so one way to kind of get rid of a mouth that you had to feed and save some money was to send a child to one of the religious orders. So he was sent to the Christian Brothers, which is a teaching order, and so they, trained him up. It's not a priest, but more just teaching. And then when he was a young man, he was sent out to South Africa to teach in the mission schools there, the mining schools, the black miners and stuff. But he was a very inquiring guy, and he just, after a while, lost interest or lost the faith, I suppose. Like at that point, the early 1900s, the Catholic Church was very, very conservative. And for instance, evolution. They didn't believe in evolution, or they, preached against it. Whereas he was more scientific, had a scientific mind. So he eventually left the order and got married to an English woman, luckily, and luckily for me. So so that's but that's where the name comes from. So getting back to your original point, I'm a quarter Irish in terms of blood, and my name is very Irish. But I was born in Kenya in East Africa, and then my family. I grew up in New Zealand from about the age of 9, so not very Irish at all, really, apart from the name.
But that's where you discovered the harmonica. Like Tina is asking, Tina from Sweden, how did you start with the harmonica? I mean, I'm aware that you basically saw a concert by Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. And did you start autodidactically then? And was it a diatonic or chromatic?
Yeah, it was Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. I was a student at university, so I was pretty late. I think I was about 20 when I started. I heard their concert, just blown away by Sonny Terry, of course. And then, wow, bought a harmonica the next day. Luckily, it was the right kind. I think it was a blue, the Hohner blues harp of that, like the Marine Band, wooden comb one. And then, I just really, I had no idea about music or anything. So I went to the record shop and said, look, I want to learn, harmonica. Have you got any records with harmonica on? And they gave me a Bob Dylan record. So I thought, I got it home.
Fantastic choice.
Good songs, but not very good harmonica playing. So I went back, and then they gave me a Sonny Boy Williamson, Rice Miller album, and that just became my Bible. I just loved his sound. So I just studied blues and blues and blues. But because of my Irish, my father's had some Irish records in the house, which I'd heard as a kid when I grew up, hearing this Irish music sound. After a period of time, and also I heard Charlie McCoy, who's kind of blends, with that Appalachian music. He kind of blends second position with the fast fiddle tune kind of thing. So anyway, that got, between those things, I started to explore trying to play some Irish tunes as well. So it was basically a blues, a blues introduction, as with many players, but the Irish music came within a year or two after that.
And was there anything like about harmonica playing that you would have loved to know earlier when you started, like looking back at the years of playing?
Yeah, I mean, late 70s is when I started, 76, I think. So, and in New Zealand. So it's kind of like, not only is New Zealand's at the bottom end of the world, and communications were pretty rubbish then. There's very little information. And so I spent, I think, a whole year doing playing the harmonica with a rolled tongue,
Okay.
And then after about a year, I thought, how Sonny Terry and Sonny Boy Williamson doing all that stuff? I can't do it. I must be doing something wrong. So I just trial and error. I thought, take my tongue off, see what happens if I don't play with the tongue. Suddenly I could bend a note and things like that. But yeah, these days, in 5 minutes you could go on YouTube and discover all that. Save a whole year's work.
Yeah, and there are great. There's great material on YouTube, like.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now it's if you want to learn these days, it's a dream, compared to how it used to be.
Yeah. Frank is asking, you have a nice cap. Where did you get that from? Is it from Widgets?
To be honest, I don't know. I think it's just from a second-hand shop, maybe, like a, what do you call them? Second-hand clothing shop somewhere. I can't remember. I've had it for years.
Then there's an early question that I don't want to forget by Jay Harpland. We'll dive deep into all the innovations, but is there any innovation where you think it's like the best among those you have made about customization? Do you have like a favorite innovation?
It tends to be the latest one. But I guess one sound that I really enjoy and that I love exploring is kind of like this X-reed concept, where you have more reeds. You have double the number of reeds that you need. So this is actually a prototype of something called the Asia Bend. So it's basically this one's actually they come in various flavors, like the
and you probably played the Asia Band at the Asia Pacific Festival too, right? I remember that you presented some like very authentic Asian sounds on stage.
Yeah, well, it was inspired by trying to learn Chinese music, but then I found it's great for other things as well. But I mean, the XB40 is an example of that kind of X-reed harmonica, and it can be so you can be a blow draw type of harp, but in this case, it's an all draw harp. So let's see. that's a harp that I really enjoy playing. It's kind of really weird. It's an all draw harmonica.
Yeah.
But it's kind of so expressive. I love that sound, even though you couldn't play bebop on it or anything like that. But it's for those kind of like soulful melodies. It's really, because basically what it is every normal note you have as a normal note. So for instance, I think it's D. So here's a draw D. But you can get the same note by bending your.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like you basically use like
So you can
different
use the
fingerings
bent
to get the
version.
same note.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So you can use that for a particular note. You can have the straight sound, or you can use the bent version. Just by bending down to it, and so that gives it so much, so much expression. So yeah, I suppose. I didn't invent the. I thought I did invent the X-reed concept in the late '80s back in New Zealand, but in fact, it turned out that a very clever guy, Will Scarlett, was the very first guy to come up with the idea.
Okay.
In fact, he was the first guy to overblow seriously. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that. Before Howard Levy. Yeah, he was in a band called in the late 70s. I think the late 60s, early 70s. He with a band called Hot Tuna on the in California. And even though the harps are rubbish and that, he found overblows and decided that he wanted to play everything on one harp, in all 12 keys. So there's some very early recordings of these Hot Tuna records where he's playing, I think, just a G harp. Okay. But the harp isn't set up right, and eventually he gave up just because he couldn't, he didn't know about customizing harps and stuff. And of course, then later, Howard actually came up with the idea independently and took it, into the stratosphere. But yeah, this guy Will Scarlett, have you met Will?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, he's getting older now, but he's a great character. He goes to Spa, and he's a really interesting guy. And he came up with these two ideas. It was the first to come up with them. Well, people had overblown in the past, like in the 20s, one note, but he was the first to really take it seriously for 2 or 3 years, and then he gave up. And then, of course, Howard discovered it himself. So that's overblows. But the X-reed thing, Will came up with the idea. I think he made a 3-reed chamber. So where you've got a C. Say you've got your hole number 4. You've got your C blown reed, and you've got your D draw reed, and of course you can bend the D draw down to the C sharp. Everyone knows that, but you can't bend the C. So he put a 3rd reed in there.
Yeah.
A draw reed. Lower than the C, which was, I think it was an A or a B flat, which allowed him to bend the C. So I think he just had a test cell, 3-reed cell, and he showed that to Rick Epping, the great Rick Epping. And Rick was far more technically minded than Will, and he was blown away by the idea and went away and developed it into a 4-reed cell. And then he got back to Will, and this is back by about late 80s or something, and said, "Look, man, we should go for look, I've taken your amazing idea and developed it even further, and we should patent this." But unfortunately, maybe he hadn't kind of kept Will up to date exactly with what he was doing, and Will was a little bit offended, that he'd taken this idea and gone with it. But Rick had actually developed new versions of it. So in the end, he did take out a patent in 1992, I think. This is all I was in New Zealand, and I came up with the idea in about 89. I had no idea what was going on up there. I thought it was my idea. When I got to Britain, then I read about this Rick Epping patent, and it was quite disappointing, really, because I'd already got to know Suzuki by that stage.
Okay.
And we were already making 30-reed harps, prototypes, and working on releasing this 30-reed harp, And then Suzuki heard about the patent and said, "Oh, sorry, Brendan, he's going to have to stop now because someone else has, come up with the idea." So in the end, Rick patented, he didn't patent the actual concept. That was Will came up with the concept, but he patented his development of it. And then, of course, eventually that became the XB40 in the early 2000s. Yeah. So anyway, interesting little story there. So that's the X-reed concept, which I really, really like. It's not widely used. It's very rare, actually. But I think it's, in terms of expression, it's really one of the most expressive type of harps there is. I hope that's a long, rambling answer to the question. But anyway, I hope that helps.
But yeah, it sounds crazy. And also just thinking about this in general, like all these innovations in the harmonica world and the harmonica itself as an instrument is like, it's very young compared to other instruments. So
sure.
I think there's a lot to come.
I think so too. But you know, it's very young, but it's also got a little bit set in its ways. Maybe you know, like the standard diatonic, the 1896 Marine Band, you know, has that set the pattern, and basically that's what everyone plays. Of course, they've found ways to do other things with it, with overblows and overdraws, but the actual harmonica itself hasn't developed.
Yeah.
Same with the chromatic. I mean, the chromatic is, you know, you've got lots of whizzy-looking chromatics. You know, they look fancy in various ways, but they all do exactly the same as the first chromatic from about 1910. You know, so in 100 years, not much has actually developed in terms of the actual instrument. But people, of course, their playing has developed. I mean, what they do with them is mind-blowing. You know, but I think it would still, you know, there's a lot of scope for still, you know, taking the harmonica and creating new types of harmonica.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're just listening to the harmonica you played. Like I was checking out some Korean music during the last days, and I stumbled upon a piece called Arirang.
All right.
Which is like a very popular tune, and all these little inflections and ornaments in there, in the singing, like that's like very authentic on the harmonica too. At the same time, ornaments also play a big role in Irish music. We'll get into this. So Babak already wrote into the chat that he sent in a recording to the Discord. I think we're going to listen to it on Sunday. He recorded She More.
Oh, She Begs She More. Yeah, beautiful tune,
Yeah, and also Frank is asking for a simple song, a simple Irish harmonica song. What's like a beginner piece you can think of?
Okay, right. Let me think. So maybe I'll I play Irish music on diatonics and chromatics, but you know, maybe I'll play a diatonic. So you can just start with a G, you know, diatonic, and you've got you play quite a lot in first position, third position, fourth position. You don't use second position so much for Irish music.
Yeah.
But so your main scale is, of course. So just that middle octave, you know, area, and there's so many tunes that, you know, would base themselves around that area. A nice little one to learn. So one of the main things with Irish music is the speed. You know, if you want to play with other musicians, you're going to have to get your speed up, but don't go straight for speed. And that's where I think, say, blues players and stuff can actually, they can get some extra technique, which they can bring back to their other playing, you know, by playing Irish music, because you have to play super clean and fast, and also with good rhythm, you know, so all those things are good, and they transfer into other kinds of music. As you know yourself, I mean, your playing is sparklingly clean, and possibly part of that is from your early exploration into jigs and reels and stuff, because I mean, it does teach good technique.
That's so true. And like I have a lot of students, like beginner students, like it's definitely hard, like to get into the playing of like steady eighth notes without taking a break. Like if you come from blues playing, whereas like a lot of the stuff that is like lick based. And also within the steady eighth notes, you still want to like guide the listener and articulate and stuff and swing and all that stuff.
Sure.
So yeah. Well, what would be your recommendation for beginner players, like how to develop that? Just playing steady eighth notes.
Yeah, and also just little exercises, for instance, like like thirds, and actually quite a good exercise is there's 4 different patterns you can get between 2 holes. You can go that's blow, 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 and I don't know what you do, but I sort of use my jaw as a kind of a it goes between. If you look at the jaw, I'm a lip purser. So some people would move their whole head, some people would move the harmonica. I use my jaw. It's not better or worse, but that's what I do anyway. And then, of course, you've got draw, draw. And then you've got blow, draw. And then you've got draw, blow. So a little exercise where you just go between all of them. Just a simple little 2-hole exercise. And you can do that on any 2 holes, Yeah, that's down there. You can do it anywhere on the harp, but it's just a good way to kind of get clean transitions. Because, I mean, some people, when they're playing, they go, they get little glitches, especially on there, when you're blowing and then drawing and you're changing hole at the same time. I'm just
exaggerating.
I can't do it, but I'm exaggerate. Beginners will often have that sort of sound, so you want to eliminate that, So that's a good little exercise.
Oh yeah.
And then once you've got those little exercises down, maybe a nice little tune that sometimes I teach people is called the Morning Star. So just a little thing. In the key
because
G,
that's also a piece that works well, like at a slower tempo.
Yeah. So it's that's the A part anyway. There's a B part as well, but just playing something like that. It's all in the middle octave, and it's just a nice, smooth little melody that would get you started on playing Irish tunes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you're playing a Paddy Richter tuned harmonica right now.
Yeah. Yes. I recorded this album called New Irish Harmonica, which was my first time I tried to do a whole album of this stuff. And I found that this Paddy Richter, I came up with the tuning in the name. I mean, it's not a big change, to be honest. It's just your 3 blow is up a tone. So, for instance, if I was to demonstrate on this G harp, so I'm sure people probably know, but on a normal G harp, you've got your 2 draw and your 3 blow. The same on this G harp, I've got. So that note there, that on a C harp it would be an A note. That having that as a blow note really makes it a lot easier to get around, faster tunes, on the diatonic harmonica. And on a D harp, which you use a lot, you can go, all the way down. So that's going all the way down to hole number 1 in the end.
Yeah.
But it makes the transition is so easy because of that 3, the Paddy Richter makes it a lot easier. You don't have to get it, accurate in tune with a bend. Which is
that's the thing. Like if you're playing what many people call 4th position on the diatonic, like you have the 3 whole step band as like it's not a stable note. Like
that's right. Yeah. It's and especially when you're playing fast, just trying to get it bang on in tune.
Yeah,
and also
of course you have the chord available, like the chord of the parallel minor key of the harmonica. So there would be an E minor chord on the G harmonica.
That's right. Yeah. So it's and also when you've got the note built in, you can put a little decoration on it. Tongue triplets or draw triplets. Whereas when you're bending, you can't do that because you're putting all your effort into bending it. So yeah, I mean, every tuning has got its strong and weak points. I mean, when you do that, you miss out on that beautiful soulful, big bend on the 3, which is very expressive. So, this, Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So,
and was that also the reason why you started to experiment with other tunings? Like, was there something missing in the Richter tuning for you? That's a question by Tina.
Yeah, sure. The Richter tuning is it's pretty it's impressive in the sense that it squeezes 3 octaves into 10 holes, a tiny little space. But it does that by reversing the breathing pattern in the top octave. And that always kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got some good aspects of it, like the blow bends up
Still
there.
Still annoys me.
Stuff like that. So, it's almost like 3 harmonicas in one, isn't it? You've got your bottom octave, which is one tuning, middle octave, which is another tuning, and then you've got your top octave, which is a third tuning. So it's like 3 tunings in one in some ways. And that top end of the Richter harp, I got pretty soon changed to various. I've done various versions of changing that. The first one I used was called regular breath, which is basically the draw was always higher than the blow. So in most of my harps that I use myself, that's the situation. The draw is always higher than the blow in power bender, power draw, power chromatic. There's a pattern there. So you have to my mind, a more consistent breathing pattern throughout the whole harp. But it's just there's nothing absolute about a tuning. They're all subjective, and there's good things about each one. And as soon as you change the tuning, you gain some things, but you lose some things.
Yeah, it's always a compromise, but sometimes one or the other works better. I mean, I'm just switching between different key harmonicas to make the melody that I'm playing sound as good as possible, and then I kind of think in my head, and also I can improvise on any harmonica. Yeah,
and also you have a great sort of jazz understanding, and you can play in different positions really well. So, if it works out that 12th position is a better one for this thing than second position or whatever, or first position, you can go there and you're comfortable. And as you say, you can almost use 2 in the same song. So that's another good way of overcoming problems, different positions.
Bruce is asking if I ever tried alternate tunings. Like, I mean, I worked with a Paddy Richter tuning when I worked with your book. I tuned the harmonicas myself to the Paddy Richter tuning. And I also tuned one of my harmonicas to the power bender tuning.
All right.
But I destroyed the upper octave while doing that.
It's there's some big changes. It's best to swap. In some ways, it's best to swap reeds, especially in the top 2 holes. If you just take out the blow reeds and swap the blow and the draw reeds, it's less of a big tuning. But I know what you mean.
But I love the chords that are available, like in the middle octave, like the suspended sound on the power bender.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah. But it's like an operating system.
Oh, I tried a true chromatic tuning at some point.
Say again?
I've tried a true chromatic tuning at some point. Have you ever heard about that?
True chromatic. I've heard of it. I couldn't say how it goes at this point.
It's just like a regular pattern. Like if you move your breathing pattern like 2 holes up, you play the same phrase just like a minor third up.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Like, say if you start on C, blow C, what would be the next? Is it D, C, D?
Would be D. So C, D, but and then on the draw, you would have an F basically on the 2-hole draw.
Okay, so C, D, E, F.
And then a G on 3-hole blow.
Yeah.
And an A on 3-hole draw. I don't know what's on the 2-hole blow then.
2-hole blow.
But it really feels like playing. It's like it feels like playing a mixture between like 2nd position and 12th position on the diatonic. It's very comfortable if you're a diatonic player, and it was half valved, and I really liked it.
I know, Rick Epping uses that tuning like C, D, E, F, G, G, B. Yeah, no, so yeah, he actually would not take the B down to an A. So all he'd do on the in the bottom octave is drop the G draw down to an F, and that's used by him and also Joel Anderson. He uses that a lot.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There's various names for it, but it's kind of used quite a lot because it gives you really nice octaves because everything's an octave with the middle octave. So yeah, but it's not true chromatic. It's just more of just an adaptation of the bottom end.
Yeah, and I remember the B thing tuning, the Carlos Cerunco thing, which has like the dominant seventh chords available in the lower octave. And like a big band with like, I don't know, 7 steps or something between horn, blow, and draw. That's a little crazy. That's a great sound. There are more and more questions coming in. But I have something important in my mind, like concerning the Irish harmonica challenge too, and playing Irish music on the harmonica. How did you, because I really loved the swing that you added to the melody you played, how would you learn that? Did you listen to a lot of recordings? Did you play along, or what would you recommend to others?
Yeah, definitely listen to other instruments. If you're going to play Irish music, listen to great exponents of the fiddle, the flute, the whistle, the pipes, and the more you listen, the more it kind of you get the groove. In some ways, there's 2 different grooves, and sometimes they based on where you are. Where the musicians come from, whether it's which part of Ireland, or possibly, so there's almost like a straight feel, I think. So, for instance, that Morning Star, this is the straight feel. So, I'm sort of emphasizing the offbeat.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it. Another way is to go. And both of them are good. They're both really nice in their own way. But depending on who you play with, you'll probably find that some people gravitate to one or the other. And then when they do, if you can gravitate with them, it sounds better than if you're trying to play a different rhythm to them. But there's almost two different ways there to play a simple 4/4 beat.
Oh yeah.
Or I have to play it, but hopefully that came across.
That's great.
But yeah,
I think it's so important.
Listening to lots of great musicians who don't play the harmonica is really important.
Yeah, especially if we listen to some little recordings on Sunday without accompaniment. Like I think the swing aspect is like very important. And
like some musicians I could recommend if anyone does want to get into Irish music is Mary Bergin on the whistle. It's just mind blowing. Bergin, Mary Bergin, just beautiful whistle playing. And Martin Hayes on the fiddle. Wow, so soulful. Hayes. He's a fantastic player. I mean, there's so many great players to be honest, but those are two of my favorites.
Have you ever played some of these instruments?
No, I've never played anything except, as I said, I started when I was about 20 on the harmonica. And I learned, after a while, I got so, hooked on the harmonica. I thought, well, if I'm going to make a living at this, maybe I should learn another instrument. It might be a bit better for, making some money or whatever. So I learned the mandolin, actually. I taught myself the mandolin back in New Zealand and I played it for many years.
Okay.
Got quite good at it. But I haven't played it for many years. I sort of put it down. I don't know why. I didn't really pick it up. But I did play that for a while.
Okay.
But I mean, chromatic and diatonic harmonica are like 2 different instruments, so they are quite...
That counts already.
Like clarinet and sax, they're kind of...
That's true.
Quite different. Beatboxing.
Oh yeah. And also just using all these effects, like you can sound like other instruments, especially with harmonica. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's something I've been getting into. I mean, is that something I could to explore now or a bit later? I mean, with MIDI.
Did you ever? I mean, you played. I heard you play some Irish melodies through the effects too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's once you this instrument here is really this is a MIDI harmonica. It's the DM48, a brilliant instrument invented by a guy called Eric Lekholm from Sweden, and this is you can play it through. It's a wind synth. It's a breath controller. It makes no noise at all. For instance, let me see if I just turn down. I don't know. Anyway, it's just basically makes no noise itself. But if you plug it into something like just an iPad, you can get any sort of sounds you like. So this one, you can sound like whatever you want. Let's see, something. Yeah, I mean, there's millions of sounds. Let me just, okay, well, here's one. That's this one. Maybe let's see if I can find some other ones.
Robert Wise, that Stram trumpet sound is wild.
That's one I like. Yeah, this one trumpet sound. Just while we're on the Irish music, I'll just demonstrate something with this with the iPad here. A cool little effect you can get. So this thing here has got this app which is called Thor. You can actually hold down a note, and it can kind of give you a kind of like a drone effect. So so it's sort of.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know about that.
The drone sort of pulses with your note. So yeah, so that's quite cool. It's kind of self-accompaniment kind of thing. But yeah, so that's the MIDI harmonica, and that's if you play any kind of harmonica, suddenly that gives you access to so many things. I mean, it's not just different sounds, but you can play. You've got all 12 keys. You just change the key in there. You can input all these different tunings. It's just a whole different world. But you can actually get approach some of that with your standard harmonica. So in this iPad here, there's a very cool app called MIDI Guitar 2, and this is actually designed for guitarists, who want to trigger MIDI sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so there have been all sorts of MIDI guitars. Roland, I think, made one for a while. But now you can actually just put your guitar and any acoustic instrument into this app, and it'll give you some, so you can hear this is just a normal harp. But now if I... Turn the harmonica down, it'll just be the synth sound. Give me a sec. Just got to twiddle some knobs here.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Yeah, so that's the knob to turn down. So that's just one sound. There's hundreds of sounds. But going back to that trumpet thing, so there's an amazing company called Audio Modeling who've been essentially sampling, real woodwind instruments and stringed instruments, and their samples are just mind-blowingly good. So they just released they go under the name SWAM. SW audio modeling, I guess. So SWAM, SWAM. So you can also trigger, as I say, instead of weird synthy sounds, more like trumpet sort of sounds. On here, you can actually control the vibrato just by, moving your finger on a slider. So you can hear it's quite a.
That one sounds really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds. They're pretty good, authentic sounds. So that's just being triggered from a standard harmonica. This is just a Bulletini mic by the great Greg Human, but any mic will do. And essentially, if you just go into this app, which is you can actually play. It's free. The trial version, and you can it just leads you into a whole new world of stuff. And you can mix, you can blend your sounds together. So I'm just going back to maybe that synth sound again. I'll stick with the trumpet, but you can blend your harmonica and the trumpet. So. Okay, here we go. It's confusing trying to talk, and because this microphone's picking up all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you can blend the harmonica and the MIDI sounds, and it's just a whole new world. There's a tiny bit of latency on the MIDI sounds. Not much in this in the actual sounds that are used in the in this. You can hear it tracks pretty well, and even at high speed, there's a tiny bit of latency, but if you mix it with your heart, you can kind of, you can fake it if you like.
Marika is asking, what's the name of the app again?
Okay, it's called Midi Guitar 2, and it's fantastic, really amazing. Okay. You need an audio interface to go into your iPad. You can get really cheap ones that work fine, or you can get more expensive USB ones, but they're still not that much expensive. And then inside the iPad is just, you've got so many music apps, so many great apps of all sorts. So I'm finding it really interesting exploring all that stuff.
Fantastic. Yeah, we gotta people are very interested in all the equipment. Like maybe we can write that down, and I don't know, I can post it later on the Discord or something.
Sure. Yeah. So that's I've just got an iPad Mini here. I recommend almost buying a second-hand one, and not slightly older one with a headphone socket out, because over the years Apple seemed to take things away from, I don't know why, but they make things harder to interface with. So anyway, they've taken away the headphone socket and stuff. So I'd recommend buying a cheaper one on eBay, maybe 2016, 2015, and of course it'll be cheaper as well, but it'll still work fine.
Yeah.
So that's the iPad MIDI Guitar 2, and then the that trumpet sound was called SWAM. It's still in beta testing. It's not out yet, but it will be out this year, or quite soon. But you don't need to wait for that. You've got so many incredible synth apps you can play with already.
Okay, there are so many more questions. Like we need 10-second answers.
Okay, sorry.
There's Antje is amazed how perfectly you can play on all your tunings. How long do you have to practice, and is it a problem to switch from one tuning to another?
That's a question I get asked quite a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Well, basically, what I tend to do is I have a couple of tunings that I use for jamming. You know, like for me personally, it's on the diatonic. It would be power bender. So that's what I use for jamming. So I'm kind of comfortable with improvising on that one. And then on chromatic would be another one I use called power chromatic, which is like a part of power bender just repeated. But then when I'm playing something like a genre specific type of music, like say Irish music, I found that Paddy Richter or Paddy solo actually is what I use. It's kind of like Paddy Richter, but the top end is like solo tuning. That works for me. So I don't really improvise on that so much. I do a few variations, but then my brain seems to flick into the thing, play the tune on that, and I can do that. And then I've got a few others that I use as well in a more minimal, minor way. But it's a good question. So for me, the answer is have one or two that you're really good for jamming. And then if you want to learn some specific thing like Bulgarian music or whatever, you can, and another tuning is better for it, you can learn it on that tuning. And then, when you go to play that music, your brain will kind of flick a switch and bang, you'll be into it and you can play. And then when you're back to just jamming over some bluesy, jazzy stuff, you can go back to your favorite, your relaxing tuning.
What do you think about the bagpipe tuning by James Conway? That's a question by Fabio Barreto.
I've heard of it, but I'd have to be reminded how it goes, to be honest. But anyway, anything that James does is good, so I'm sure it's good. But I haven't studied it or used it.
Okay. Darius is asking, your best advice on mastering overblows and overdraws.
Well, I mean, I can do them for, testing harmonicas. Like if I'm, because I make harmonicas, for people to buy. Most people play unvalved Richter harps.
Yeah.
So I can get overblows just to test, to see if the reeds are working or whatever. But I don't actually use them myself in my playing. I play half-valved harmonicas, and I retune them to get the notes that you have to get with overblows. So I'm not the best person to ask for advice. You are far more the best person they should be asking about that kind of thing, because your overblowing and overdrawing is really fantastic. So beautiful.
But I can make a connection like how much were you involved in the development of the overdrive? Because that's the harmonica I learned overblows on.
No, that wasn't my idea. That was a guy called Masaru Hashimoto, a really clever Japanese guy. He developed the overdrive harmonica. But I thought the question was about the overblows and overdraws, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I learned the overblows and overdraws on an overdrive harmonica, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good idea, because it makes them easier.
That really helped. I mean, you can basically do the same with your regular harmonica. You just got to open it up and then put your finger on the reed that you wanna block, basically. If you want to get the 6-hole overblow, you can open up the harmonica, just get rid of the cover plates, put your finger on the blow reed, 6-hole blow, and then the only note that can come out of the harmonica is the overblow. And that's basically like the ideal situation, like with in terms of like loss of air. Like there won't be any loss of air. That's something you probably won't achieve if you have the cover plates back on, but that's like the ideal overblow tone you want to get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea, is blocking the... you can even take the covers off and tilt the harmonica up, and then your lip blocks the blow reed, and that makes it easier.
Oh, yeah.
And another good little trick, I think, is if you're trying to go for an overblow on a particular hole, do the draw bend on that hole and just get your mouth... consciously work out what you're doing with your mouth and your tongue, to get the draw bend. And then once you know what shape it is, do the go for the overblow with that mouth shape, and that should pop the overblow out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's
so it's a similar
harder to do
similar
than,
shape to draw bend.
It's just hard to keep that embouchure, but it's true. And just like in general, I think it's just very important to, hear the note in your head, or like know how how the sound sounds that you want to get out of the harmonica.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's another question by Ingo concerning Irish music, which I really like. What would you say is the most important inflection in Irish music?
Inflection. Inflection is hard to. You need to almost define what an inflection means.
Yeah, or like an ornament.
Oh, you mean
Ornamentation.
decoration?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, if you're talking about the diatonic, there's probably three that you want to learn. So one is just a tongue triplet. So if you say you're on a blow note, you can go diddle diddle diddle. I just diddle 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 in your mouth on the blow or the draw. And you can go. Then you can put that into. So you can do that little. So that's a little. It's a bit like the banjo triplet, where they do a triplet on the same note. That's how the banjo players do it. If you want to get a different note, there's the thing called the jaw flick, which was really the Murphy brothers are fantastic at. So probably the easiest play, I'm using a G harp here, to learn is on hole number 6, where you go to 6th draw, then you flick your jaw to the my right, your left, I guess. But so you're going. So instead of going draw, blow, in the time of the draw note, you want to flick to the right and back, and that gives you your triplet. So that's the kind of the draw one, and then you can also do a blow one. So you can go. It's a little bit more difficult because you have to go up to the right, and then you've got 3 holes involved there. So those are the kind of jaw triplets.
Yeah, which are one, which really useful in other styles too. Like if you listen to Jason Ritchie, like.
Sure. And with the diatonic, of course, you get different notes depending on where you are. For instance, on your blow there, you're actually jumping up a fourth. You're going from your G, D to a G in this case.
Yeah.
But whereas the draw one is only a tone. So it's the intervals vary depending on what hole you're on, which is sort of unusual. And then another one is what I call the what do you call it? The cut. Yeah. So this is quite nice. This is more subtle, but it's basically a little grace note before the note that you want to play. So if I play it in context, you'll hear. So it's kind of
it's almost like a slight inflection from the chromatic.
That's So all of these things are way easier on chromatics, and what I do with my chromatics is I actually tune them. I call them the slide diatonics. So I tune the slider note to the next note of the Hohner scale. So this is a G again. But the slider note, instead of being a semitone, like a normal chromatic, it actually goes to the next note of the Hohner scale. So that means your decorations, when you do them, are all kind of in key, if you like. They're more, because Irish music and many other folk musics are sort of modal music, so they're within the mode. So that tune, so these cuts are really easy. And your triplets are, so you can do them with your finger. as opposed to your jaw, which is harder.
Yeah.
And they work well for jigs as well. So, all these little cuts, they give a nice flavor. An instrument to listen to.
And they also add to the swing.
Yeah, sure. I suppose they do. Yeah. A good instrument to listen to for these kind of things is the whistle, because it's another modal, simple instrument like the harmonica. It's sort of a modal instrument, and yet they do similar, nice decorations that you can learn from on the harmonica.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of inspiration for everyone out there, I think. Spinner1 says, I love all your music and your YouTube tutorials on using the Midi apps. Also need to purchase an iRig to get started, correct? Thanks for all your contributions to harmonica music.
Yeah, an iRig is one brand of audio interface. So yeah, an iRig, or there's various other ones made by various other companies. You can buy some very cheap kind of generic Chinese ones as well. But iRig is a good name and kind of well known for their audio interfaces. You need something like that, yes, to play through.
Okay, yeah. Antje is asking again, you must know a lot about music theory and harmony when you come up with the tunings. How did you learn that?
Well, I'm just self-taught. I don't really read music. I can't sight read music at speed. I can pick it out really slowly, but I never mastered that. To be honest, by the time I could play quite well, it was such a drag to have to go back to learning so slow at reading music that I didn't do it. So I don't really read music. In terms of theory, I've taught myself, a decent amount of stuff about how notes go over chords and stuff like that. So, if there's a chord sequence, I can understand that these notes would sound good over that chord sequence and those ones wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not compared to, say, to many players. I'm not a great theory or sight reading sort of guy at all. I'm more like most harmonica players, self-taught. But yeah, I understand plenty enough to get around and do what I need to do. But there's so many people like, say, Antonio Serrano, the classical player, and the great jazz players. I mean, I'm sure know a lot more about theory than I do. So people who play jazz a lot and all those kind of things would be way more advanced than I am in music theory.
Okay. So yeah, I hope that helps, Antje. The next one isn't a question, but it's like a great sentence to thank you. Like Jean Trek writes, Brendan Power deserves a Grammy Award for the revolution he brought on harmonica technique, sound, and harmonica construction. So I agree with that. Hope everybody else too.
I won't hold my breath. No, that's basically, like most of us, I just do what I do because I love it. And, so that's enough. And people, some people like it as well. So that's a buzz, so you don't need all these awards, yeah, it's nice to get them, I guess, but that shouldn't be the reason that you do anything to get awards.
Yeah. But I checked out your website. It's like full of material. Like if, for those of you who watch this, like if you're still interested, I think there's a ton of stuff to discover on your website.
Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
You can check out all the other social media links by Brandon in the description box below. I'm
thanks.
really looking forward to Sunday. What would you say is like the most important thing you will listen to, like when listening to the Irish harmonica recordings? Will be the tone, or what is like the biggest thing that a player can stand out?
Clean notes and good rhythm. You don't have to. I mean, you can play tunes beautifully without any decorations. That's not. Decorations are, what they're the little stuff on top, the fairy dust on top. But you don't need them to play a tune really well and make it sound good. So yeah, just clean notes and good rhythm would be the two main things.
Okay, I agree. Rhythm is very important. So if either you can play a little melody without any accompaniment, maybe you can find accompaniment online, or I don't know, you play guitar yourself. That's also possible.
The good thing about that music is that it has an internal rhythm, so you don't need accompaniment really, because if you're playing a tune well, it's got its own internal rhythm and drive,
So
it doesn't hurt to. So yeah, don't let accompaniment be something that holds you up or feeling that you should get it, because in some ways your playing will stand out better. Won't stand out better without accompaniment, but it'll be more clear that you can hold it together without having to rely on backing track or something. If you just play it by yourself.
Oh yeah. So that would be the big thing on Sunday. There would be 3 categories and 3 winners in each. Oh no, like 1 winner in each, but in total of 3 winners. So we have a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced category. Beginner players can only play the natural notes available on the harmonica. Intermediate players can play bendings. You don't have to include them in your playing, though, for the competition. And advanced players can play overblows. That's like the only thing I thought we could like split this up a little. And every winner has the chance, or like every category has the chance to win 3 Rocket Amp harmonicas in the keys of C, D, and G, which is very useful for Irish harmonica.
Absolutely, yeah, perfect, yeah.
So we'll basically be back on Sunday at 6 p.m. on Twitch, 6 p.m. Central European time. I'm really looking forward to this because that's what I always thought of doing on Twitch. And Brandon and I will listen to all the submissions of you and judge.
So are we doing live judging, listening live and
exactly.
commenting, or do we listen beforehand and then?
No, we'll listen live to the recordings.
Okay, cool.
And I think like if I set it up correctly, like also with a little poll, maybe viewers can also decide with us upon the winners.
I'd say probably another thing that would be good is just keep it short. I mean, you don't have to hear whether
you don't have to play the melody 3 times or send in a 5-minute recording.
I mean, you can tell within 2 or 3 notes if someone's good or not, to be honest, I'm sure you would agree. So you don't have to, 10 seconds, 20 seconds is enough.
We don't have the time to show that you listen to 5-minute versions of these pieces. Yeah.
One time through the tune would be plenty.
Exactly.
That's which is probably a minute or so. Yeah.
So thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much for taking the time, Brandon.
My pleasure.
I'm sure everybody's like hyped and everybody wants to try some new tunings and try some new ornaments, inflections, triplets. So Metis Rotunda. Can we use our tuning for the song or just a 10-hole? I mean, with the structure of beginner, intermediate, and advanced, I'm thinking about diatonic harmonica players, but you can use your favorite harmonica tuning, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you, I mean, and absolutely any tuning goes. Yeah, whatever works. I mean, I'd be interested to hear if there's some tunings that work better than Richter, Paddy Richter, those or the one I mentioned about the easy third, I think they call it. That Kepping, Joel Anderson use. If there's another tuning that works better, probably spiral tunings could be good for Irish music. Yeah, they're pretty cool tunings. Have you ever tried one of them?
I would consider the true chromatic tuning to be a spiral tuning.
Oh, okay, right, okay,
yeah.
Yes, okay. It's quite a clever idea, isn't it? Because essentially, you've got a unit, you've got a division of 2, which is blow draw, and then you've got 7 notes in a scale. 2 into 7 doesn't go. So but spiral makes a virtue of necessity, and the whole thing twists around as it goes up the 3 octaves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's clever.
That's it. There's a last question that maybe you can answer. I can't, I think. Liam is asking, have you done any experimentation with modifying comb slot geometry to accelerate or modify airflow patterns to improve reed responsiveness? If so, have you seen any success?
Probably the only area that, it's an interesting little area. Certainly for some of my creations, like I made these harmonicas, the double chromatic harmonicas, which are really 2 chromatic harmonicas behind a mouthpiece. And the further away the reeds get from your mouth, you get something called the Helmholtz resonance coupling effect, where the resonant frequency of the chamber, which is basically your mouth, your vocal tract, and the chamber, comb chamber, or the passage to the reed, interferes with the resonant frequency of the reed itself. And once if the resonant frequency of the chamber is quite a lot lower than the reed, it can really stop the reed playing altogether or make it play flat. In that case, I have tried all sorts of things to try and reduce the the volume of the chamber. And in fact, some chromatics, they work better with if you reduce the volume of the chambers in the top holes. Like the CX12 is a bit notorious for not working so well in the 11 and 12. And if you make the comb chamber smaller, it will work better. So I have fooled around with that a little bit. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, very very advanced question, I would say. So yeah, I think that's a nice round up. Ulrika is already asking if you can come again. We'll be back on Sunday.
Back on Sunday. Yeah.
So please check out the description box. Check out Brandon on YouTube and all the other platforms linked below. You can find your way to the Twitch channel for Sunday in the description box too. And yeah, we hope you have a nice evening or great day wherever you are. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, Konstantin. I really enjoyed talking to you, and also answering the questions. So thanks to everybody for chipping in. And remember, this series, the Hohner Live series, your series this is just one of many. And there's many great ones on YouTube
that's true.
You go back and look at from the past. So they're really good.
Yeah, I think there's more great harmonica content on YouTube than ever, especially through 2020. So maybe a nice way to spend the lockdown. I don't know. So thank you so much for tuning in, and see you on Sunday. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.